On Wednesday, podcaster Pablo Torre published a report that the Clippers circumvented the NBA salary cap because Kawhi Leonard had a no-show contract with a company that Clippers owner Steve Ballmer was an investor in. Steve, thanks for joining us to discuss all of this.
I really appreciate you giving me a chance. I look forward to it. Up front, I want to say one thing very clearly. We, the Clippers, have abided by the salary cap circumvention rules because that's the right thing to do. And we have done that. I happen, for what it's worth, to think it's a very important rule in terms of promoting competitiveness and equal playing field across the league. But whether I agreed with it or not, it's the rule. And we've absolutely abided by that.
So how do you define that rule against salary cap circumvention?
Well, there's obviously writing in the league rule book on this, but I can make it really simple. We cannot pay a player anything beyond what's in his standard player contract, and we cannot cause anybody else to pay the player what's beyond their standard contract. And that would include, for example, sponsors, endorsers. That is verboten. We can't do that, and we didn't, certainly in this instance. I mean, we can have sponsors. The players can do endorsement contracts. We can do sponsorship deals with the same companies that they do endorsement contracts. We cannot have any involvement in their negotiation with the companies who sponsor them. We didn't in this case, and we never have.
Steve, in your initial response to the podcast from Pablo Torre, you guys said that these allegations are provably false. So how do you prove that?
Well, if you start and think, let's pick up from the point about what the rules are. You say, okay, we know what the rules are. Was there an exception made in terms of our relationship with Aspiration? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is a company that I got to know, frankly, through them approaching us about a sponsorship deal. My family and I were super keen to do work to stem climate change. We think that's an important thing. I was in the process of even changing the design of Intuit Dome so that we could be carbon neutral. And then we meet this company that focuses in on an aspect of carbon neutrality. To me, it seemed like a match, kind of made in heaven, if you will. And then they offered us an unbelievable sum of money, $330 million. That by itself, one of the biggest sponsorship deals ever done. And it wasn't naming rights. We had turned them down on the naming rights deal because we liked Intuit, blah, 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 blah. But they offered even more money. So we had a fantastic deal with a company that fit with stuff we care about personally. And because I was enthusiastic, I read their business plan. Remember, they defrauded me. They defrauded many other investors much bigger than me. But I read the business plan and said, hey, this makes sense to support them, to support us. We made an investment in the company. So all fine. I had no control over this company. That is important, actually, under the salary cap rules. I owned less than 3% of the company. There were investors who put in a lot more money than I did. I had no board seat. I had no control. Heck, it was a fraudulent company. It's possible nobody had any control. And now you look back and say, could I believe anything they said? Could their employees have been believing anything they said? I don't know. But at the time, it was an exciting deal for us to go do. Now, we had already signed our deal with Kawhi Leonard. We signed that in August of 21. It was a 4-year deal, 4th year at his option. It was the most that we could pay him. That was the most we could do under the rules, if you will. I've been excited about that, even though we knew Kawhi had to rehab a year from a torn ACL. So, you know, kind of okay, this is going to work. This is really going to work, and it did. All done. I remember where I was. We're very excited. That would have been August. In September, we got the deal done for sponsorship and investment. We announced that. And at that time, we hadn't even introduced, Aspiration hadn't asked, or we hadn't introduced for sure, Kawhi to Aspiration. We were done. They were done. we were done with Kawhi, we were done with Aspiration. The deals were all locked and loaded. Then they did request to be introduced to Kawhi under the rules. We can introduce our sponsors to our athletes. We just can't be involved. We made an introduction. That was in early November, well past when all of this happens. We had a chance recently to go through all of our relations with Aspiration. This is where you get to kind of how you prove this stuff. We, as part of our cooperation with the Department of Justice and the Securities and Exchange Commission, we had produced text, emails. We'd already gone through all this stuff because it was part of document production in their investigations. And we even found the email that makes the first introduction. It was early November. I won't remember the exact date. So where could any of this circumvention have happened? It didn't. It couldn't have. The introduction got made, and then they were off to the races on their own. We weren't involved. I eventually learned that they had reached a deal. I have no idea what the deal was.
So, but you see how this looks to the average fan, right? You're invested in the company. It's $50 million as your investment. You're part of the biggest raise that they have as part of the whole building of that company. Then your star player gets a contract for $28 million. He's not required to do anything as part of that contract. He doesn't actually do anything to promote their company. And he signs an extension with you guys right in and around the same time. Like you can see it looks like what it looks like.
Let's talk to the fan. We signed that deal with Kawhi before any of this, before Kawhi even knows these people. We've signed our deal. That's high integrity. We made our deal with Aspiration. Literally, I had no control over the company. Literally, even when I invested, I think there was somebody who put in 6 times as much money as I did. No control. And that's okay. The average fan should understand that. And they went off and made a deal. I don't know what the deal is. I know what the reports are with the speculation. I don't know what the deal is or was. And frankly, I can't even tell you whether it's this much different, that much different, or not different at all from some of the other endorsement contracts that athletes do. In terms of amount, I don't know. I actually don't know the amounts of most endorsement deals. But when you look at Forbes magazine and they talk about the highest paid athletes, many of those top athletes, as Kawhi was a top athlete, is a top athlete, you read those things and they say they make up more off endorsements than they do their very large salaries. So I don't know what to expect, but I think the average fan may not either. But we did things by the book, and I don't know what those deals should look like, nor do I know what this one looked like specifically.
So why do you think they gave him that much money?
Let me just repeat, I don't know how much money they gave him.
Well, in the court documents and in Pablo's podcast, they report it was $28 million.
Pablo's podcast, I don't know anything about the court documents on this. I haven't seen them, and I don't know. I'm not trying to be, I don't know. I really don't know. But the speculation is what it is. And why did they do that?
It's a lot of money. I mean, $28 million, $7 million a year is a lot of money for a guy that you didn't actually require to do anything.
I don't know why they did what they did, and I don't know how different it is. I really don't. And frankly, any speculation would be crazy. These were guys who committed fraud. How would I be able? Look, they conned me.
You're one of the richest men in America.
They conned me. I made an investment in these guys thinking it was on the up and up, and they conned me. At this stage, I have no ability to predict why they might have done anything they did, let alone the specific contract with Kawhi.
I mean, you're one of the richest men in America. You've obviously done very well in your career in business. Like, you didn't smell anything wrong with the company. You didn't see anything wrong. Like, you obviously reviewed the financials before you got involved with the business proposal.
I reviewed, my staff reviewed primarily fraudulent financials. Now, should I have sniffed it out? Maybe. I feel embarrassed and kind of silly that I didn't sniff it out, but I didn't. I made the investment. A lot of other smart investors didn't sniff it out either. It's also true I've made a bunch of bad business deals and investments in my life, and I've made some good ones. This was fraud and a bad investment, and I'm embarrassed by that.
Yeah. When you signed Kawhi in 2019, the NBA had an investigation that his uncle, Dennis Robertson, asked for extra benefits, whether it be use of a plane, a house, guaranteed endorsement opportunities. And at the end of that investigation, you were cleared of wrongdoing, but they left open by saying if any new information comes to light, they would reopen that. So since 2019, has Dennis Robertson asked you for any other benefits that would be in violation of the league rules?
They know the rules. They, meaning Kawhi and his representatives, including his uncle. We know the rules. And if anything's not clear, we remind ourselves what the rules are. And we make absolutely clear we're going to abide by those rules. And they understand them as well. And it's important for them to abide by them, which they have.
So you were listed as one of the largest creditors in the bankruptcy case. And you said in your statement you're looking forward to cooperating with the feds, you're looking forward to cooperating with the NBA investigation. Why? What are you looking forward to there?
Well, the Clippers are actually the creditor. It's not on the investment that I am a creditor. It's on what they owed us for the sponsorship deal. And, I just lost my investment. That's what happened there. Why am I looking forward to? It's really important to me to communicate to the NBA ecosystem, but particularly our Clipper fans, that we've been on the up and up. Since the day I bought the team, and the circumstances were definitely tough, we've really emphasized doing things the right way. Doing things the right way, whether it's the way we treat our fans, our players, our staff, the rules, do things the right way. And I want our fans to really understand that they've aligned themselves, that they support an organization that does things the right way. I mean, that's fundamental. We welcome the league investigation. We have nothing to hide, and in fact, we're glad for that opportunity also to tell our story because we think it's important, and it's important for me, for our fans to really understand that we're going to do the right stuff.
Since you signed Kawhi, and really even back to his days in San Antonio, there have been stories like this. There have been a couple of lawsuits filed. There was a lawsuit filed from a man named Johnny Wilkes, who said that he received payments for his influence there. Randy Shelton, a former trainer.
Dismissed by the court.
The league has investigated you guys for some of these allegations. There's been issues with load management with Kawhi Leonard. There's been other issues with him. There's just a lot of smoke, right? And you say it's important to fans and for you to feel like you do it on the up and up. But you can understand why the average fan would go, okay, always with this guy. Like, why is there always these kind of stories with this guy?
I don't know. I think because he is, relatively doesn't speak much, I think there's a lot of mystery around Kawhi. And that may be why, fans kind of tell themselves, create a narrative, if you will. I've had a great relationship with Kawhi. I've gotten to know him a little bit. We sit down a couple times a year and just kind of talk about how the team's doing. The allegations, have not been true. But what's most important to me is we've done the right thing in all those interactions. And Kawhi's business is Kawhi's business. Yeah. But we've always done the right thing.
Have you spoken to Kawhi about any of these allegations since the podcast came out on Wednesday?
I have not, no.
Would you be interested to see what he has to say?
It's really his business with Aspiration. So, I wouldn't ask about it, no.
If this story had come out about another team, another owner, how would you feel about it?
I'd want the league to investigate, take it seriously. Like I said earlier, the salary cap circumvention rules are important to the league, and I'd want the league to investigate.
And just so we're clear, you never directed anyone from Aspiration to do an endorsement deal with Kawhi Leonard?
No, I didn't. And more importantly, we, the Clippers, did not. We didn't give them direction. We made an introduction as is appropriate under the rules. A lot of sponsors do like to, they call it activate, by doing something also with players. We made the introduction, and that was that.
Do you think, given this situation and other teams and the commonplace of stars doing a deal with a team sponsor, do you think the league should maybe look at that practice and maybe adjust that because of the appearance of impropriety or because of situations like this?
that would really be up to league office to think about. I mean, as the rules stand today, it would almost be disrespectful to tell a sponsor, no, I won't introduce you to that player. And it would be disrespectful to go to the player and say, yeah, somebody was interested in meeting you, but I won't tell you. The rule says we're allowed to do that. I think it's the respectful thing, actually, for us to do. And I think the system has worked well, but ultimately that's the NBA's call.
How do you know, the Board of Governors meeting is in a few days. How do you think your fellow owners are going to approach this?
I don't know. I hope they'll have faith and confidence in me, the folks who've gotten to know me, but I can't predict.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Ramona.
Appreciate your
really
time.
appreciate the opportunity to talk about what we've done and express, I guess, some of the anger I'm feeling about what's going on. And I also feel some sadness for our employees. I'm mad, but I'm also sad that they're going through this as well as our staff and our fans.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.